I'm Jen.
And we're SpielMill.
And this is our
Shelf of Shameful Opportunity. And this is where we look at the new games that we've gotten to the table, or sometimes new expansions, and what we think of them.
Yeah, we've got quite a backlog of games from a period when we couldn't play, so we've really been focusing on getting new games to the table this year, and that's what this series is about.
But we did have a slow month, so it's been a little while. Our August was really slow, game-wise. So it's actually been a while since we've done one of these videos, so it's the first one in a while, but hopefully we'll pick up pace again with it.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the game from Havre's games, Tim Havre's, and that is Fugitive. This is a small, light, deduction game, where you're trying to guess what number locations the other player, who's the fugitive, has visited.
Yeah.
And if you guess them all, you win. If the fugitive gets away without you guessing all the locations they visited, they win.
I was not good at this game.
I was a little better.
Yeah. I think you won all of the games.
I did.
But it's interesting. It's a quick, interesting deduction game based on numbers. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, first of all, I think it was a good, fun game. Yet it was also super simple, which is really good. You know, I think when you can pull that off and have a good, fun game be simple as well, that's good.
Yeah.
I will say it was a little tougher to catch the fugitive than to play the fugitive, I think. Now, we didn't play that many games. We played a few, but maybe when you become really experienced with it, that balances out.
Yeah.
But at least in our play, I think, even though I did win all the games, I think it was tougher to catch the fugitive than to be the fugitive.
Yes. Which did you have a harder time beating me with?
And there was a luck element in the game. I think there was a little bit of a luck element depending on the card you drew as the fugitive.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's nice. It's hard to do a deduction game with two people. I think, and I think they did a really good job. So, and it's I think it's a nice weeknight game. Yeah. It's nice after work. We could just go and play a quick round of this and feel like we'd, gotten a, juicy game in.
And it's a quick learn, so even if you haven't played it in a while and you need to refresh, the refresh is really quick.
Yeah.
So this is something you could pick off the table anytime, off the shelf. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
All right. Well, the next game on our list today is another Uwe game. We are very slowly making our way through Uwe Palooza, trying to play all of the Uwe games that we own. And that is Le Havre. So we finally got Le Havre to the table. We've been dying to get it to the table. We love Uwe, and Tom Vassell always talks about this as being his favorite Uwe game. I think that I know your initial reaction to it was a little bit lukewarm. It felt a little bit repetitive on the first game. You're just moving your ship down this line and you're taking wood. You
basically do one action per turn, kind of sometimes two, and sometimes even three, but usually just one or two. And you do that in a two-player game, I calculated 49 times.
49 turns each. Yeah.
So the first game in particular just felt like, especially since I was learning what I was doing, it just felt really redundant and like repetitive and just kind of a little bit slow and all that stuff. But I will say that it really improved with each play as I got into the strategery of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times I'm a first play gal. Like, I love discovery. And so, like, the first time I play a game, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And then it might sort of lose its shine. This one was the opposite for me as well. The first game, I think I didn't fully grasp the whole strategy, right? I thought I was just building my engine and trying to get these cards and getting resources, and it didn't quite click that you didn't want to have a massive resources at the end. You wanted to dump everything. But I did figure that out by the next game. And then also the cards differ. So again, this is another game where the cards come out and they make up your choice of action. So you've got some basic actions, which is take the resources, but then the cards that come out let you do a bunch of other things. And that mix actually really changes what the game looks like. It can be a very different game from one to another, depending on which special cards come out and what order the basic cards come out in. And so I thought it really improved with a couple of plays. I really, really like this one. I think it's going to be pretty high on my Uwe list. I will say, feeding your folks in this game was punishing.
That's one of my notes. Feeding your family is an all caps challenge.
Now, and that's for an Uwe game. Uwe's always a pain in the ass feeding your family. Like, it's always a challenge. That is like the most real thing, I think.
But this game was one of the more brutal ones.
By the end of the game, you needed 20 food to feed your family, which of course, I will say there's a tipping point where suddenly food is not a challenge if you're you're playing right or well.
Yeah, if you're buying ships in particular, and if you're doing it timely, that's like, and I guess that's sort of a little bit of a redundant strategy, but it's an important strategy. But it's hard because it's like, oh, I really need a ship to reduce my food cost, but right now I need food to pay my food cost, and I can't do both.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
at the same time,
you spend the entire first couple, it feels like you spend the entire first couple rounds just trying to feed your family and maybe get a little bit of extra something. I think as we played it more, that feeling sort of abated, and I kind of got the more long-term strategy on it, and so I was a little bit less worried. And in this game, I did something I never do. You did as well, which is take a loan. I never do that. But it made sense, and suddenly I could see how not having to worry about getting food for my family and just taking the hit and getting the loan allowed me to build up quicker.
Especially if you're able to pay it back quickly. Like, if you're able to pay it back quickly, it never really costs you much of anything.
Yeah.
Maybe a coin, right? Because it's one more coin pay off than you get. And but if you take a while to pay it back, you have to pay a coin interest every round.
Which I did.
I was like, who are you waving at?
Yeah.
Oh, them. Hi.
Yeah. Oh, I can see you there. I did. It did take me a couple rounds to pay it off. And maybe that's why I lost. But it didn't feel too bad. I was able to just throw that coin to pay the interest and do other things and not worry about it until I was able to kind of pay it off smoothly without it being a real problem. But I really enjoyed this game a lot. Again, like with all Uwe games, it's a matter of balancing that like maintenance fee, that maintenance cost of feeding your family with the long-term benefits of building up your resource generators and the buildings that you can use. And it's just really lovely. I liked it a lot.
It's a really good game. Now, here's my one thing, though, I'll say, and the reason why it'll never top like Feast for Odin or something like that. Wow. It's because it's really an abstract game in a lot of ways, and thematically it's not immersive. It's okay thematically, but I feel it's like theme-wise it just pales in comparison to Agricola or Feast for Odin or even Caverna. You know, like I just feel like those are much more immersive playing experiences. So for me, like I know you said it was Tom's favorite, but for me it'll never get there because to me it's a very interesting game mechanically, which is good, and I like that. But theme is just too important in what I want from a game. Yeah,
I can see that. And I'm not even sure why Agricola is more thematic than this. Maybe it's because you've got fenced off little green portions with animals in them.
You got animals.
Yeah. I mean, but I had little cows, but they were tiles, right? Yeah. So it is less. It's less three-dimensional. It's a lot more abstract. It's a picture of a cow, not a little wooden cow.
Yep.
If it had little wooden cows, it might be.
Yeah, maybe. I think in little pens to store them. I don't know. But, you know, I was missing some element there thematically, I thought. It was okay, but it wasn't terrible, but it was a bit abstract-y.
On the flip side, what I really liked, though, is the variability in the cards.
Yes.
Adding those special cards means that you got whole new buildings, and there's a lot of special cards. Only 6 per game, and we have probably, like a stack of 100?
And you're like, oh, we got the bumper this game. We can bump each other from spaces, and that just comes out every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
So
I think even if it's not our top game, Uwe continues his streak of being one of our favorite designers.
Yes, absolutely. Another good Uwe game. So that's a winner, Le Havre.
Yeah, all right.
Next up, we have a light party game that's really interesting, and that's called Haiclue. Now, I think Haiclue's like not going to be one of my favorite party games ever, but I think it's quite enjoyable actually.
Yeah.
In Haiclue, you basically end up with four, like a bunch of tiles and words on them, and then you have a tile that you have to give a clue to with a word on it, using the tiles with words on it, which is kind of But and one element I think is a negative in this game is that the deal or the draft in this game, the tiles you end up with, can be very swingy and dictate a lot.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it anyway. I just enjoyed the simplicity of the game, and you can you can get creative with it and try to have to get out of the box because you're like, oh, I have these words to give a clue about that word, and they have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, and we played it as a 4-player game, and most of the clues somebody got. Most of the time somebody picked the right thing. There were a couple where it was spot on and everybody got it, but it was really interesting. My favorite thing about this game though was the challenge round, and the challenge round is you have to give a clue as a haiku or haiku as a haiku.
The names of the game's Haiclue.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of getting confused.
So we did that. We did that once. We did that in our final round where everybody had to write a haiku to describe their clue. And I think we got most of those. I think that
but they were weird haikus.
They were weird haikus, but that was so much fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to play a whole game that way.
No.
But it definitely was a nice icing.
I like doing it as like a one round at the end there.
Yeah.
Just to make things a little wacky.
And this is a game you can play on BGA, which if you're interested in it, that's a good way to check it out. We actually played it there and thought, oh, this is actually fun. We would like this, and so we bought it.
Yep. So it's good, publishers putting your games on BGA does help in that kind of respect, for example.
Oh, we've bought. We've
For
bought.
Shuffle.
We're gonna probably
Applejack.
get Sea Salt and Paper probably.
Was one of the Uwe games we were ready to skip just because we're like, oh, we have so many games in that series, and we're like, Applejack, we love it, gotta have it, so we bought it. So so anyway, that is Haiclue.
Yep. So the next one on our list is one we have had forever. This is a great one to get off of our shelf of opportunity because it has been sitting on our shelf forever, and that is Lantern Dice. There are, I believe, a series of these lantern games.
Well, there's a regular board game.
I gotcha. Okay, so we have the dice one where
you roll right.
Yeah, we roll them right, exactly. Where you roll 4 dice. They have colors and patterns on them, and then you're coloring in to make basically a fireworks show on your paper.
Yeah,
your roll and write paper. I really liked this. It was a nice little roll and write.
Yeah, it's solid. I would say it's solid. Not my favorite roll and write, but definitely would it make the top 50? That's a good question.
It might.
It might. It would not be near the top. It would be in the 40s or something if it did. But it could, because we did our top 50 before. If you never saw that, go back and watch our top 50 roll and write games. We did that like a year ago. We've played some new ones since. So maybe we'll revisit that maybe in a year or so. But for now, we do have a top 50 we did. But I did enjoy it. I was trying to figure out, for some reason, the patterns on the dice didn't look like they matched the patterns on the sheet of paper for me. Like some of them did and some of them didn't, which it seems like it should be a colorblind friendly game. Just using patterns?
I thought they did, but maybe I wasn't looking too closely.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But the one thing I did notice, because I was trying to pick up on it, because where we play the game, we have a small game table in the corner back here. The lighting's not as good. And I had some issues telling the colors apart.
Yeah, the red and the purple.
With the dimmer lighting.
Yeah.
So we need to fix the lighting back there to be a little better.
Yeah. One of the reasons why we hadn't played this is it has a 3D element to it as well, and we could not implement it when we were doing this from our chairs, because when you make patterns, you can take tiles, polyomino tiles, and and if you've colored in the space, you can put them on those colored in spaces. And of course, the first tile is worth a lot more than the second tile and third tile and so on. So to me, that actually gave it a little bit more complexity, something a little bit more interesting. You're not just trying to like fill it in by the end of the game, but you're trying to fill it in fast so you can get the higher value patterns. And of course, we both went for the high value ones, the highest value tile.
Yeah, so you're competing for them right away.
Yeah, there might have been a strategy for going for the smaller, lower value ones and just trying to get a bunch of them.
Well, and that's the thing is the higher value ones are actually bigger, so they require more spaces to claim them. But the smaller ones and they're like 6 points, and the smaller ones like starts at 4 points, but and the bigger one may take up 6 squares, and the smaller one takes up 4. So there could be a strategy of just going for the small ones and getting more of them. You could definitely do that for sure.
Yeah, and I think if we played this more, that's something that I would probably give a try. We only played it a couple times to get a feel for it, but maybe next time I'll do that.
It's fun. It's definitely an easy to learn game, and it's definitely fun. So like, it's not my favorite, but it's solid.
I also didn't win any of these games. In fact, I didn't win any of Le Havre.
She's on a losing streak.
I am on a losing
She's on a losing
streak.
streak. She went on this Wordle win streak for a while where she was like 2, getting it in 2, getting it in 2, getting it in 2, getting it in 2, and it was impossible to beat her. But you know,
now that's gone too. So,
but her luck ran out on her. All right, so next up we have a game called. This is a roll and write game as well, actually.
Print and play roll and write.
Print and play roll and write that we backed on Kickstarter called Wayfarer's Tale, and this one's interesting. And pay attention because there is a board game version coming out. It's on Kickstarter right now, at least, or when we're filming this. So if I get this up quickly enough, you'll be able to back it. So we'll try to do that.
Yeah.
And so what did you think of Wayfarer's Tale?
I really liked it. I know that I really liked it because I wanted to play again.
Yep.
I was thinking earlier today, like I knew we were going to film. I thought, well, maybe we could get in a game of Wayfarer's Tale. We played the easy map and it was easy. I think there's room for this to get more complicated. We have not played the more complicated version, so my hope is that it does get a little more complex. But even at the really easy version, I liked it. It felt like you were exploring, and I love games where you explore a map. That is so much fun to me. I thought the dice decision was really neat. So basically you roll 4 die, 3 of the same color and then 1 of a different color. And the active player can use any of the 4 and the passive player can only use the 3, right? And you add them together and then you pick which area of your board you are going to write a number in. And then wherever you write that, that's going to let you take an action to explore. So there's multiple different layers of decision here.
It's basically 2 sheets. You got an adventurer sheet, or a companion sheet it's called, and that's where you plate your dice numbers.
Yep.
And which companion you use dictates what kind of terrain you can travel.
Yeah.
And then there's the map sheet, and you explore the map from there.
And each of the different companions had different rules on how you fill in dice. So you might not actually be able to play your die where you want to play it and explore the territory you want. So you need to have like a couple different like directions you're going at any given time. And then the number that you write in, if it's a diamond space, you actually get as a bonus. If it's a monster space, it's actually a negative. So there's a lot of really good decision space in this. It was, and actually I said it was really simple, but it really was.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on. It wasn't that simple.
And we didn't play, and I don't know if you noticed this, but there's we haven't played, there's an advanced companion sheet.
That's right.
And so that'd be interesting to play with. And then there's additional maps, and that'd be interesting to play. You did mention those. It'd be interesting to play with the additional maps. So there's a lot of variability built into the roll and write game. And so, I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. Like, I'm just excited.
Yeah, I am too. And I think that's one of the things I like about some of these roll and write games is where there are multiple different like sheets, whether they're maps or companions. So you can get a lot of variability and different complexity without a whole huge number of like playing cards or a big board or anything like that. You can do a lot with a little. Yep. And I thought this game did a good job of that.
It did.
So I think we're going to probably be backing the Kickstarter, in fact.
No, we did.
Okay.
Well, we talked about it. And
we did.
I went and backed it last night for us.
So. All right. Excellent. Yeah, we backed the Kickstarter.
All right, so check it out. So our last game that we're going to talk about is an expansion. And this is an expansion for a new way game.
Yeah.
And this is
Feast for Odin, the Norwegians
Yep.
expansion. So we played Feast for Odin before, so it's not the game, but we've owned the Norwegians for a couple years.
Yep.
So it was the first time we got that to the table, and
we heard it made it better.
And it did.
It did. The main difference, there's a couple differences, but the main difference is that there is a redesigned action selection board, and it's very customizable to number of players. And so it takes away some action spaces for 1 to 2 players, for 2 players, for example, but it adds this 5th column for any number of players. And the 5th column is so interesting. You could play 1 or 2 workers over there, but if you play a worker there, or 2 workers, it ends your round. You can't play any more workers. So you have to wait until you're low in workers, right? But they're pretty powerful abilities that you can get over there. So it gives you an incentive to end your round quicker, which as in Feast for Odin before, you're always trying to be the one last out because you wanted to go first in the next round, which you still do.
Yep.
So you have that tension between wanting to be the player who goes first in the next round and wanting to get the best of those actions in the 5th column.
Because they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. And then if you play 2 workers there, you get to put down an occupation as well.
Right.
Which, of course, is super powerful because, you know, it takes more than that, I think, generally to put
Normally
down
you have to play 4 workers to do that, or use one of the action spaces that let you play occupation cards.
Yeah, so I agree with those who say it makes the game better. Now, I don't agree with folks that say they would only play with the Norwegian expansion. I would prefer to, but I still love their original. But it really does. It is a nice addition to.
I think I'd always choose to play with the Norwegians, given the choice. I would play the original, but I would, if I was given the choice, I'd be like, Norwegians.
I don't know if I would. I think in real life, if on a table, I probably would, but online, I might vary between the two because online is easier, right? It's not like, you know, it's not a big 2-hour commitment.
I'd find it confusing to go back and forth. I'd want to play the same style, but
that's you.
Yeah. Well, I do have a notice that gives me brain fog, so.
You do. Sorry, dear.
So there were a couple other differences. For example, one of the things that was cool was that sometimes your occupation cards aren't as good as you want them to be. And with Norwegians, you could play occupation cards just for points. And that was a pretty cool add-on because it means that even though maybe Jen got better occupation cards for me for her strategy, but I can play it for points. So I can get all these points from playing them, and that could be really lucrative.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I agree. This just, it makes what was already, I think, probably my favorite Uwe game, like really, really my favorite Uwe game. Like it makes it even better, which is hard to do. It's hard to take a game that is already really good and make an addition that actually makes it better. But it did it. It did.
It did.
Yeah.
So thumbs up for us for Norwegians expansion. So that's it for this video. That was 6 different games or 5 games in an expansion that we went over. So if you have any thoughts about any of these games, any questions about any of the games, we'll be glad to answer them in the comments below.
Yeah.
And other than that,
I think that's it. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. And as always, thanks to our new subscribers, and we hope you'll enjoy some gaming. So remember,
every day that you game
is a holiday. Bye.